Okay, I'm going to call our village board meeting for November 21st, November 21, 2020 to order. Roll call, please.
Nyla Fry.
Here.
Gary Herzberg.
Here.
Phil Willems.
Here.
Chris Zellner.
Here.
Aaron Moran. Here. Joe Zitzelsberger.
Here.
Sam Kaufman.
Here.
First item we have is confirmation of open meeting compliance, public postings, official notices, online availability.
I can confirm that the draft agenda was published in the Waunakee Tribune on 11/18, and the final agenda was posted in all three official posting locations on 11/17, and the final agenda and packet were made available online on 11/17. Two items for our audience members, if you could please sign in on the sign-in sheet, that helps us keep an accurate record. And then also those wanting to participate in the public comment section or public hearing, please fill out a card and give it to me prior to that applicable agenda item. Thank you.
Okay, first item we have is public comment for any items that are on or off the agenda this evening, if anybody would like to speak.
We have Maria Pat at 1000 Wexford Drive, Waunakee.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone will have a great Thanksgiving this week. I know that many times I stand up and make complaints about certain things that trouble me is what I see in town. I've been here for 44 years and I love Waunakee, so don't get me wrong on that. It's because I love Waunakee that I say what I say. And I'm at a point in my life where I've really started to hone in on needs versus wants. And I think Waunakee needs to do that too. There are things Waunakee needs, there are things Waunakee wants. Things that I think we need would be a hotel, a full-service grocery store, a department store where we can buy things locally and not have to buy them in Sun Prairie, Middleton, or Madison, a family restaurant where we don't have TVs and bands blaring to the point where you can't hear the people you're talking to, and doesn't have alcohol as its #1 consumptive product. We need infrastructure things, something as simple as making sure that the equipment for picking up leaves works, so that leaves can get picked up. And realizing that all of these surrounding areas with lots of houses and little trees are turning into lots of houses with big mature trees that leave more leaves. So something to think about. Something to be done about the structures in the community that have been empty for years. And why is that? I just would like us to focus on the things we need that can help alleviate issues, rather than focus our time, energy, and money on things we simply want. My guess is most of you have kids, and hopefully you have taught them. There are things you need and things you want. You can't always have what you want. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to make any comments this evening? Okay, then we'll move on from public comment. Next item we have is consent agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like pulled or look for a motion?
2 and 3, please.
Okay, 2 and 3.
I'll move, we approve 1, but
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for item number 1. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Nyla, number 2.
On number 2, the board minutes, on page 22 of our packet, it says Linda Ashmore, 114 South Street, advocated for staff salary increases from 6 to 7%, concerned about $3,000. Is that supposed to be 3,000 or 30,000?
30,000 for one room,
Yeah,
that
Yep.
one. It should be 30,000.
yeah, okay,
We'll finish that
okay.
sentence. Thank you. I will.
Yes. So that takes care of that.
Okay, let's, number 3 then?
Yep. Oh, number 3,
Do you want to take, why don't you take your action on
Should we-
that?
Okay, so let's take our action. Do we have a motion for number 2?
Motion to approve item number 2 on the consent agenda.
Motion by Gary Hertzberg,
second, okay.
second by Phil Willems. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, number 3, about the license for Class B retail beverage application for St. John's. I don't have a problem with St. John's, but I did have a question that I talked to Carla about. about, it didn't say anything about the time, and she told me that the state form does not request that. But I'm wondering it doesn't have to do directly with this, but indirectly, is if we could, if it's possible to have our own form to add questions, because when I called to rent a shelter, I had a whole list of questions, from everything from music to what my hours are going to be there, if I was going to be, selling alcohol or using alcohol. So I'm just wondering if it's possible for the village to create basic questions that we could have answer to, because one of my questions would be, what time are you going to start serving and what time are you going to stop serving?
And I think I can answer that. We're having a meeting on the 28th with staff to discuss the process for these particular license and reevaluate how we issue them and how we review them. So I think that's a perfect time to discuss possibly adding to that application and getting more detail if that's.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, make note of that.
That's all that was about.
You want to make a motion then?
I don't have the motion right in front of me.
I make a motion, we approve St. John's license for alcohol consumption on their private property during their auction.
I second it.
Motion by Will, second by Nella Fry. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have a presentation to discuss and take action on proclamation honoring Keith Steins. So I'd look for a motion.
Move, we have Keith stand up.
Second.
And a second. Motion and a second. All right. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Keith, are you going to run this while we're talking to you? I'm just trying to figure that part out.
Yeah.
We should go
All of it. Okay. So we have an addendum, actually, that Keith provided for us for this, so I'll point that out when I get to it. So this is for a proclamation honoring Keith Steins. Whereas Keith Steins has served the village faithfully by running the functions of our public and government access cable channel, including recording village meetings and events and managing the technology needed to produce village recordings. And whereas Keith Steins has served the village in this role longer than village records can confirm. However, we know it dates back to the 1990s. So this is the addendum from Keith. In my research, I found the earliest videotape recording of a village board meeting was on October 6, 1997, in the Village Hall section of the Fire Department building. Tim Nixon was village president at the time. That makes it at least 25 years of doing this. Next, we have, whereas Keith Steins has performed an important public service to the residents of our community by facilitating the distribution of public information via the cable channel. And whereas Keith Steins was of great service to the village staff team in solving challenges and implementing ideas to keep technologies and systems up to date. And whereas, above all other things, Keith Steins was incredibly reliable and dedicated, whether that be coming to record a 10-minute meeting during the worst of weather or enduring 3 or more hours at a time, necessitating multiple tapes for a single meeting. And whereas, while Keith Steins will remain involved with certain functions related to the cable channel system, he will no longer assist with regular meeting recordings as the village transitions to new technologies and hybrid meetings. As such, we will sadly miss that confident nod and point from the back corner of the village board room indicating, ready, set, go. And whereas Keith Steins' service to the village will be remembered and appreciated thanks to the years and years of video records that are available to us now and will be available to generations that follow. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that the Village of Waunakee celebrates and recognizes Keith Steins' service to the Village of Waunakee and thanks him for his many dedicated years of service. The foregoing proclamation was duly adopted by the Village of Waunakee Village Board at a meeting held on November 21st, 2022. Congratulations. And I'll just say a couple quick things before I let Keith talk. So it's been my honor and privilege to be the village president for the almost 8 years now. And you've been steadfast, as it says in here. And knowing your family all these years, it's always made it more special for me. You know, having coached your son Chris when he was younger, to dealing with Jessica as a student. And when I say dealing, I mean in a positive way. Always. But just knowing the family and my kids being babysat at your home is a very special thing to me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. So, yeah, I've enjoyed doing this. I enjoy what you guys do. I think you guys do the hard part. I just record it.
Well, everybody looks great on film.
Wait, Chris, before you sit down, thought you might maybe like a parting gift. Chris,
That's
if
what it
you
is,
could
right?
help me move this just forward here. Keith, why don't you unveil this? Maybe take the cover off there, Keith, if you could. Let's see what we got there.
Yeah, I know what you got. Yeah. Yeah.
We found all that stuff downstairs. We don't know if you want or need any of it, but you're welcome to any of it.
Yeah, that was the first cameras we used, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah.
A little bit bigger one.
Yeah.
There's still probably
There
one
you
or
go.
amber or
Mhm.
green.
I know the person who got me involved was George Cole. He was the first director of the EMS, and I was part of that for a number of years. And then I think he was on the board at that time also. And he was just interested in starting something like this, so he was the one that got us started.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have a presentation of award from Wisconsin Policy Forum's 30th Annual Salute to Local Government. So this past week, Todd and Kylie from the village and I got to attend the Wisconsin Policy Forum in Milwaukee, and it recognized us as one of, I think it's 4 groups that received this award statewide for our effort to advance racial equity in our community over the last year with our University Year program and our relationship, an ongoing relationship and improving relationship with the Ho-Chunk Nation. With this, it's a tremendous award that is attributed to all of us, as well as our community, and the embracement of equity and our relationship with the Ho-Chunk Nation. So we were able to attend. I should have mentioned our Ho-Chunk friends that were there too with us, but we have a short video that talks about this and was shown at the statewide conference.
I'll do one quick pause. So Casey Brown from the Ho-Chunk Nation did a great job on here. He apologized verbally at the event because he referred to Waunakee as a city multiple times. So when you hear him say city, know that he apologizes and just imagine village instead, okay? It'll be easier to watch.
My name is Casey Brown, and I'm the Public Relations Officer for the Ho-Chunk Nation. The City of Waunakee, as part of the University Year project, approached the Ho-Chunk Nation to have us talk to them about how the Ho-Chunk had been here prior to the city being here, and be able to talk with us to better teach their citizens and people in general in the state of Wisconsin about the Ho-Chunk history.
I'm Chris Zellner. I'm the Waunakee Village President. We've been striving to become a very welcoming community, more so than we've ever been. And with that, the university reached out to us at the right time. We were looking for assistance and help, and the two parties coming together really have been a great benefit and advantage to us.
Hi, I'm Gavin Luder, Managing Director of the University Alliance at University of Wisconsin-Madison. It really came to be because there's a group of people in this community who are passionate about making sure that Waunakee is as welcoming a community as possible, and we just ran from there.
My name is Sylvia Guerin, and I live in Waunakee, Wisconsin, the only Waunakee in the world. So I volunteer here in Waunakee at the Create Waunakee Committee. The idea of that committee was to generate opportunities for people here in our community to express themselves through art. I brought up an idea that we could do what we ended up calling Waunakee's Home, the Village Hall, just connected with the University of Wisconsin. And the project became a part of the study. And the goal is for the students to help us to amplify and to create other alternatives to do with the project.
What's great about the University Year project in the city of Waunakee is they wanted to implement place-based learning, which is great for the Ho-Chunk because place means a lot for us. A lot of the signage is being changed and updated to include the Ho-Chunk not only historically, but as contemporaries. But the Village of Waunakee has gone beyond that and has further implemented programming within their school system, within the city, and within the community. So it's not just some words, but actual action that they're taking forward.
Our students in environmental studies who are studying Ho-Chunk language and culture, we're giving them concrete recommendations for how to build a cultural preservation plan. How do you get Ho-Chunk language and culture taught in public schools? Students provided like actual campaign materials, like billboards, social media posts that they could use for these kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion campaigns.
It's an ongoing process. It's not what we're going to get there right away. It's build upon each and every event that takes place. The more education that's out there for our community and citizens, the better they are to understanding one another.
Thanks, Todd. So we were recognized and received a nice award that we will keep here at Village Hall, or maybe at the library. I'm not sure where we would keep it, but one of those locations. So I'll pass this around to the board members so you can see. In addition to our board, I really need to thank staff. Todd, Kylie, the group has just completely embraced and put us out in front of many communities, and this award recognizes the work that we're doing. And in stating that, we will have to continue to do that for years to come. We've just started. We're getting awards because of our start, but we need to continue it on and continue to make Waunakee a great place for everybody to be and welcoming to all. So, Todd, any comments?
Oh, that's great. Chris, Chris stood in front of a room, about 400 municipal urban leaders from across the state at the ceremony in Milwaukee. The Wisconsin Policy Forum is a statewide organization, and we are one of 5 communities. You've got the book up there, but a small number of communities that were recognized, so we're really thankful for that recognition. And as Chris said in his comments at the event, we hope that really receiving the award isn't as much about what we are doing, but a lesson to other communities that it can be done in a place like Waunakee. We have a long way to go, but we're showing that you can make progress.
You know, Chris, I just wanted to say that I know that, Todd and the staff have been, very good working on this project, but your dedication to it, from day one has been, I think a great leadership, for the community. Really got things done that, I know when you first came up with that, gosh, where's Chris going with this? But you stuck with it and really made something happen, so thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Anybody have any questions about it? So there is a guide I'll just kind of pass around, and you guys can take a look at it. Kind of talks about Wisconsin Policy Forum in there as well. On the back, actually the back cover, I think, is where they talk about how it's a statewide organization. Okay. Next, we have our public hearing and discussion action on the 2023 budget. Do we need to make any comments, or should we open up the public hearing right away, Brian?
Did you guys?
Oh, Renee's prepped with a few intro slides if you'd like her to do that first.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, again, a pretty small presentation today, just to give you an update on changes that have occurred since our last public comment session on November 7th. So again, this just reminds you of all the various meetings we've talked about the budget. We have most all of the information now to generate our tax bills within the next few weeks. So we have the MATC levy. Theirs is a very small portion of the budget, but theirs went up 2.97%. The school district levy went up 2.41%. The county levy went up 8.15%. And again, that's a fairly small share of the tax bill. Some other items, after the packet went out, we did find out our credit information. So the school property tax credit, so all these credits are direct deductions from the tax bill, and impact how much taxpayers actually pay. The school property tax credit went up 3.6%. The lottery credit for Waunakee went down about $20. So that is available to taxpayers where the bill is for their primary residence. So if it's a rental property or people have multiple homes, you can only get it on your primary residence. So that just went down a little bit from last year. And the first dollar credit, that goes to every improved property in the village, that went up $1. So pretty much status quo there. So those were some of the things that we've been waiting on. Changes to the budget since the last discussion. I added the items that were discussed at the meeting and suggested to staff, which was to change the COLA increase to be 4% as of January 1st, instead of the split 3% at the beginning, 1% in the middle of the year. That added just over $30,000 to the levy. And then we added a contingency of $40,000. That was to cover the recruitment and retention needs that were discussed and presented at the last meeting as they come up throughout 2023. So we added about $70,000 to the levy. Another change that was made that does not affect the levy was we added just over $16,000 of ARPA funding for that next phase of the police department remodeling. So that leaves our current tax rate as an increase of 2.7% over the prior year, and the equalized down 7.1%. Impact on the different values. So the changes we made increased the village share of the levy by about $3 for every $100,000 of value. So you can see how that kind of plays out. The average village home tax went up $13 since the last meeting by adding those extra items that we did. So again, the same rule of thumb applies. If we were to make any changes up or down, it has this impact on the levy. So I think probably now would be the time to open the public hearing, and then very last, it'll be this motion.
Okay, so I will open up the public hearing for anybody who'd like to address the board on the budget. And if you'd just please state your name and where you live. Anyone? Okay, about 2 minutes. Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing with this. So first, I'm just going to read a couple things for the board. I don't know if Todd, I think, handed it out to us, but this. Is that okay?
What's that? Oh, the staff comments. Oh, sure.
So we had some staff comments with regards to the bonuses that we have in this budget and put in for this year. And it says, well, this is great news, no matter what my percentage of full-time employment is. Very happily submitting my choice for the bonus after realizing they forgot the attachment. My excitement was just too much. I appreciate all your efforts in this village gift. Hi Sue, thanks to you, Todd, and the village board for the bonus. That was such a surprise and much appreciated. Thank you. This is really cool that they're doing this for us. It's a nice relief for my HSA next year. I want to thank the administration and the board for providing village employees with this retention bonus. I really appreciate it. So our staff, I think, based on what I've heard, staff was very pleased with the decision that we made as adding this into the budget. So I heard all positive comments from all the different departments and reports from them. So that's that. I'd just like to say thank you to Renee for all your work right off the bat here with regards to the budget and preparing this and putting up with me and some of the requests that I made. And I think we did a pretty good job from where we started this whole process. So thank you for that, and Todd obviously as well. Then back to the department heads for all of your efforts and work to put the budget together too. We can't really just do it one person, obviously, so all of your input and the things that you request and that we can or sometimes can't approve is appreciated for you taking that time to do it. With that, board members, any comments or questions with regards to the budget?
I mean, I think the budget's, I think we've really looked at it hard, and personally, I had numerous staff members from the village, just came out of the blue and came up, shook my hand, and, really makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, that really impacts their lives, and I appreciate it.
Okay, we've seen the budget several times in parts and as a whole, and I'm ready to make a motion to approve the resolution approving the 2023 Village of Waunakee budget.
A second.
So we have a motion by Phil Willems and a second by Aaron Moran. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next under license and permits, we have discuss and take action on original alcohol beverage license and cigarette and tobacco license application for a tasting room of Monona Inc., doing business as the Tasting Room. So before we start this, my employer has dealings with the Tasting Room, and for that reason, I will be recusing myself from any discussions on this.
I would move to appoint Phil Willems.
Second.
Okay, we have a
Geez,
motion and
that
a
first
second
guy that opens his
for
mouth.
Phil. All in favor, say aye on Phil.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Wow, she was,
You can, yeah.
only
Why don't
because
you-
of my
sure.
advanced
You
age.
don't
Let me
have to
get through
leave,
this
but-
thing.
Takes a while.
Phil, Brian is prepared to provide an introduction for the board if you'd like.
Okay, then let's let Brian do that.
So let me point your attention to page 112 of your packet. What we have here is a business, the business, the Tasting Room, has gone to the Plan Commission already to receive approval of its site plan. But to operate its business, it needs two different licenses. One is an alcohol license that is part of the application that starts on page 112. The other is a license to sell tobacco products. So this would be an establishment that would allow for cigar smoking. Typically, the cigarette and tobacco product licenses do not come to the village board by our ordinance. They are approved by the clerk, and that's consistent with the Wisconsin statutes. I think in this instance, we paired them together because there was some discussion at the Plan Commission about whether or not it's allowable to have the cigar smoking in an establishment in the village in light of the state smoking ban. And I can tell you that we have a village code provision that adopts the state smoking ban in its entirety. Now, the significance of that is there is an exception in the state smoking ban in our village code for a tobacco bar. And this establishment qualifies for that exception. I'm certainly willing to provide more information on that if need be. In light of that, we have what I would call a few more conditions as you look at the bottom of page 12. So it is village staff's recommendation to grant both of the licenses subject to the conditions One of the issues that we have right now is we'd like to see a little bit more definiteness for the definition and for the premises. The site plan that was approved by the Plan Commission is pretty clear that there's going to be an indoor area and an outdoor area that's already been approved. Essentially, we just need to work with the applicant to narrow it, to be more consistent with the site plan. I would say too, the one other condition that I would like to add to the 6 that are there, and this is consistent with the operation of the business, but just to make clear that only smoking of cigars and pipes would be permitted at the establishment. And that's consistent with the language of the state statutes as it pertains to a tobacco bar. So I'm certainly here to try to answer any questions that you might have, but with that additional condition added and with that background, it is staff's recommendation to approve the 2 licenses.
Okay, thank you. I guess proper thing would be a public hearing on it right now?
No, we don't have a public hearing.
We don't have a public hearing. Okay, board members. Sam?
Except, Phil, I would note that the applicant is here.
Yes.
Jason and Jessica, so if you have particular questions for them, I'm sure they'd be happy to entertain those.
Okay, so we'll start at that end with Sam Kaufman. Sam?
Well, I don't necessarily oppose it, obviously, I'm not certainly a fan of smoking by any means, but it's an exemption under state law. I'm not really interested in opening ourselves up to potential litigation by denying it, so, as my support.
Joe?
Ditto what Sam said.
Aaron?
Yeah, the same. I think it's a choice people make for themselves. And
Nyla?
I have a question. Do you plan on having live entertainment? And if so, what type of live entertainment?
Sure. So at our current location in Monona, we often do acoustic guitars, things like that. So that same kind of small, I think 3-piece bands are usually what we do.
So the idea or the understanding is if we did have, or when we do have live entertainment, we don't want it to drown out people's ability to sit down and talk to each other. I mean, that's part of the experience is that people interact, so it wouldn't be loud, it would be background music.
Okay, so would you have it indoor or outdoor?
We've had them both, yes.
Both, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for answering that.
Of course.
Now, if it helps at all, that was part of the conditions of approval of the site plan, was there was language in there consistent with other establishments like Lone Girl or other places where we allow outdoor sale of alcohol that has the same limitations on time and noise levels and things of that nature for outdoor music.
Okay, thank you.
And Gary?
I think at the planning commission level, the planning commission, not only the quality of the building, just the record as a business in Monona, they've got people think very highly of them as a business. They do a great job, so, I support them.
Okay, I stopped smoking cigarettes in 1977, so I'm not too knowledgeable. Never learned to smoke a cigar. I do enjoy being around them and sniffing them and everything, and when somebody's enjoying one, I like the smell. I know that their entertainment at their other facility is kind of like what we see at the Red and White on Main Street, where they have 1 or 2 people very quietly playing, and generally not even amplified, just their own instruments. And I have attended places like this in Ireland, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. They, on the inside, they handle their air probably twice as often as they have to, just to make sure it's really good. Outside, I don't know what that does, but it's not that big of a facility, so I have nothing but respect for the fact that they want to take their money and invest it in Waunakee.
I have one other question. I know the planning commission looked at this, but I don't know what they determined. The parking situation, is there adequate parking?
Yeah, or else we would have had a deeper discussion at the park, as part of the site plan approval. So yeah, that, stated differently, parking is definitely part of the site plan discussion, application, and approval process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and.
I have one more question too.
Go ahead.
This is one of our reserve license. Do we know how many we have left?
I don't know the
But-
exact number, but we have quite a few.
Okay, we're not.
And Gary, you had,
I'd make a motion to grant the original alcohol beverage license and cigarette tobacco license to the applicant, Tasting Room of Monona, Inc., doing business as The Tasting Room, subject to the following conditions being satisfied prior to issuance of the license.
And that would be 1 through 6
1 through
as
6.
printed.
And then also the additional paragraph that I gave that said only smoking of cigar and pipes is going to be permitted.
Yes. Accepted.
And is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion granted. Thanks for the experience, Gary.
Okay. Any motions need to be made, or can I just take back over?
No, we're
You just
all
go right
done.
ahead.
All done?
Public
Okay.
Aquatics facility, right?
Discuss take action on the results from public aquatic facility referendum.
Well, Chris, you had requested that staff place this back on the agenda for kind of a follow-up closure discussion in relation to the results of the referendum. But I don't suppose we need to dive into the exact numbers. It was about a 40-60. Is that, where did the percent hit on the aquatics referendum?
It was about 40-60, like you said. I don't know the exact. It's like 63, I thought.
Okay, so my comments are just, I wanted us, if people had any thoughts or discussion to take place with this. I will say that it was disappointing that it didn't go through, but the community is who decides this. This was important that they had a say. And I did, the day after the election, ask for a meeting with Todd and Sue. I think it was just Todd and Sue. And Phil, sorry, Phil. In regards to this, and one of the things that I've directed staff is to look at putting a splash pad in. That's something that we can do in a relatively quick fashion. And just have a discussion about it to see, where our board is on this. Cost-wise, it's a very, very different item. So really to just direct staff to start to look at what are potential spots that we could put it. It may be in 2023, it may be in 2024, just, we'll have to figure that out still, when it could be built. But it doesn't take nearly as long to build something like this. It's more a matter of finding out where it would be most effective for the community. A couple of the sites that were just thrown out there, just for everybody's knowledge, and please, the community, don't think that we've made any decisions on this. Again, this was the day after, and we just started having a discussion about, where it could potentially be. Why Phil was involved. Phil, with the Rotary, has been looking at different things for splash pad and raising funds for it to go in there. So I think that's a key component, is doing some fundraising for it. See how close we could get to even paying for it. That is not even on the tax roll necessarily. But with that said, the sites that were discussed, just briefly, one was in Village Park, where there's an existing basketball court and small baseball diamond, that it could go into that location. That's very central. We heard that was a theme amongst people, was trying to find something that was central to the community. It doesn't really get any more central than that. Another option was in Veridian, to have a discussion with Veridian. I believe Todd's already had a discussion with them about potentially going in that new subdivision in the large park that would be over there. Again, fairly central to the community. It would have a pretty prominent spot that people would see it from the highway. The other was the water wheel location that we had discussed as part of potential for pool, going over there. And did I miss any, Todd? Or were those Sue,
No, but
we had one more park over by Prairie. I can't remember the name of the park.
Very
It was difficult for me to remember that. Over in Prairie and Prairie Park was the other potential spot. So looking at all those things, and again, it's so early, but it's a good discussion for us to have. I think that that's something that's easier for us to do right now. Obviously, our budget was going to be a little strained with the other one as we went through that. And I think that that would be a great amenity for the community, is to get that in, at least at this point. So, comments? Gary?
Just a thank you to Sue and, the work that she put into this. And Renee, I think the communication effort, we did it the right way. We got we held meetings, we put documents together, we made sure everybody had a fair look at this. So, kudos to their effort, everybody tried their best to make it, so everybody had a good understanding, We didn't maybe agree with the outcome, but at least we did our best effort. So thanks Sue and her group and Renee.
And if anyone is wondering why we jumped right back on a splash pad right after the referendum, it's because we put the splash pad plans on hold when we started talking about the pool. We were quite a ways down the road to putting a splash pad complex in Waunakee. And if we do this, I can guarantee you there's gonna be a significant private investment to help it out by service clubs and people. Thank you, sir.
Any other comments? I would just say the studies that we've done, we kind of know what can be built at this point, what it will look like. The costs are going to change, obviously, as we go along, but it's not something that has to be a dead issue. As a matter of fact, if we still wanted to act as a board and say, well, the community, we're going to do what we want, we heard your vote, but we're still going to do it. I don't think I'm going to be in favor of doing that, just to be clear. As a matter of fact, I know I'm not in favor of that, not think. So, down the road, we have the information, is what I'm getting at. We've already looked at different sites. So that information will always be there for us. Okay.
Oh, I was just say thanks
ahead.
to everyone for, and in the community too, for helping get us such a good picture of what it could look like to let people decide. And I hope that it percolates as people, oh, I have this great chunk of land I'm going to donate for this pool someday. So we planted seeds.
Yeah, and 40%, it's 10% away from, where the majority of the population would have wanted it. So maybe some different tweaks and changes over the next couple of years. Maybe there's an opportunity to have it in front of the community again. So that's what I'll end at that. Go ahead, Todd.
I just note that with Chris's direction, unless the board desires us to take a different route, staff is prepared to proceed immediately with reviewing alternative sites. We do have about $10,000 remaining from the aquatic study budget that you had approved. We believe that would come in useful as we look at some initial engineering capabilities of the different sites. And we'll plan to begin our research, and within a few short months, we would like to have some initial information before you.
Is everybody okay with that? Good with that? Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Todd. All right, we just have one item left.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion? We have a second?
Second.
And a second from Nyla. So before I take our vote, it's that time of the year for elections to take place coming up here, for people filing their candidacies. And I want to let the board members know that I will not be seeking re-election for the village president on this next time. So you can start thinking about it. Those in the community can also consider if they would like to do it. I want to thank everybody right now. I still have work to do until April, so I'm not, shutting it down today by any stretch. But I want to make sure that people in the community have an opportunity to think about it. It's a very important, as well as yourselves, if you're interested. This is a very important role to the community, and I want to thank all of you for your service and work, as well as staff. And I'll speak more about it in the future, but this is the right time for me. So with that.
Thanks for your service,
That's it.
Todd.
With that said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everyone.